Hello, students. Welcome once again to this class, Oratory. Today, I have decided to divide this class into two videos in which you are going to see two different topics. First of all, we are going to conclude the first topic, which was about framing and reframing. And in the last class, you did partial about it. But we are going to close it tonight because it is very important to know other aspects about this topic of framing and reframing. So I'm going to show you, or I'm going to present you a new pattern, which is sharing and transcending a dilemma and creating a monopoly of emotion. I don't know if you have an understanding about what a dilemma is. Well, I'm going to give you the definition and its origins. Well, according to a definition that I found on the website literaryterms.net, a dilemma is a problem, a situation with two possible solutions. So you have to be clear in this concept. When a dilemma occurs, a person has to make a difficult choice between two desirable options or contrastingly two desirable or sorry undesirable options. This word dilemma comes from the Greek dilemma, which means twice, plus lemma, which means premise. It is a term used in logic and also in rhetoric. Rhetoric, we are going to study that in the second video, so you have to be clear in this concept of dilemma. There are different types of dilemmas. Dilemma is a general term, but there are also specific types of dilemmas that follow specific scenarios. For example, I can tell you about a moral dilemma, which is one of the most popular themes in literature. Is this, which is the moral dilemma, where a character, for example, is faced with a conflict of morals or ethics. In such a dilemma, choosing one moral will result in violating another, or doing one thing could bring positive results, but is morally wrong. A common example of this could be, for example, stealing from the rich to feed the poor. That's a moral dilemma. So, people, when we talk about dilemmas in this concept, there is no clear right or wrong. There is no a clear black or white. In the next video, this term is going to be explained, and it can be used in the game of framing and reframing. So, pay attention to the next video and take notes if it is possible, okay? In order to understand this topic perfectly. So let's watch the video.
Ecstasy is a party drug that is popular at dance parties. Ecstasy is a party drug that is popular at dance parties. The chemical composition of the pills, which are illegal to buy and sell, can differ enormously. Some of these pills are extremely dangerous. From time to time, people actually die from taking them. This raises an interesting moral dilemma. Should local authorities make it possible for partygoers to check the safety of ecstasy pills before taking them? On the one hand, everybody wants to prevent fatalities, and drug checking can prevent people from taking dangerous pills. On the other hand, any government that allows such checks at the very least implies that it condones ecstasy use. In other words, drug checking might encourage partygoers to think that ecstasy use is acceptable. This is a real dilemma. Now, suppose that you are opposed to these checks, but you obviously don't want people to die either. Consider the following frame.
Checks create a false sense of security. Whether or not you die from using ecstasy does not just depend on the chemical composition of a particular pill, but also on your level of physical fitness. If you are not in top physical condition, any ecstasy pill can kill you.
The strength of this frame is not just that it is sticky or that it satisfies the other requirements of a good frame, but that it releases us from a tricky moral dilemma. In this frame, we are no longer faced with a choice between allowing drug checking or risking people's lives. And because it releases us from this dilemma, we are susceptible to this frame. We are eager to hear that these checks create a false sense of security. There is a dilemma, and this frame offers a way out. As noted in the previous episodes, frames that are based on values or emotions are particularly powerful. As it turns out, they can also be very powerful if they release us from a moral dilemma.
Frames can be even more effective if they explicitly tackle the underlying moral dilemma. Imagine a famine or an armed conflict that is creating a huge stream of refugees. One country has already absorbed a large number of refugees, and the question now is whether it should accept any more. Consider the following frame.
On the one hand, we have a moral duty to help these people. A moral duty. On the other hand, our country has already done its fair share. Our society cannot absorb any more refugees. I believe that we should look after these people in their own region. That is what we ought to do. They should be looked after close to home, not here where they are far from home.
This frame presents the problem at hand as a moral dilemma. When faced with such a dilemma, we become susceptible to the close-to-home frame, which offers a way out. The essence of this frame, it presents the problem as a moral dilemma and then presents the proposed solution as a way out of this dilemma. In this way, it appears to transcend the original problem.
Finally, this frame is actually very common. If you are conservative, but you also want to show compassion toward the poor, you can call yourself a compassionate conservative. If you are a liberal, but you also want to be tough on crime, you can talk about muscular liberalism. The German region of Bavaria is conservative, but also wishes to be modern, so Bavarians talk about laptop und Lederhose, innovation and tradition. The idea behind this frame is that by embracing a dilemma, you can transcend it.
So, people, if you wish to convince your listeners or audience of your position, it can help if you formulate a dilemma first, as you could notice in the video, or possibly even a moral dilemma. Part of this dilemma is your opponent's position. You then have to reframe your own position as one that transcends the dilemma, okay, offering a way out as the man explained on the video. By making your opponent's position part of the dilemma, you can also create an impression, you can also create a new perspective of transcending your opponent. So you are not placing your position in a position to your opponents, but above your opponent's position. So that's what I mean when I say transcending the dilemma. I hope you have understood this part of this class, okay? So anyone faces or faced by a frame of this kind is forced to reframe. I'm talking about the second situation that the woman presented. Now we are talking about reframing. How do you reframe that situation? Well, you have to design another dilemma in which your position transcends the dilemma as I explained earlier, okay? In this section, we have to look at the following dilemma. On the one hand, for example, talking about the situation of this woman, this country has a moral duty to take in refugees. On the other hand, this country has had its fair share, okay? The conclusion, what is the conclusion in this case? Then we need to close the borders and accommodate the refugees in their own region. Then how would you reframe this position? How would you do it? Well, we have to use the same technique. Um, Use a dilemma to reframe it. How are you going to do it? Of course, on the one hand, it makes sense to accommodate refugees in their own region, right? On the other hand, there are limited opportunities for refugees in the region, which is resulting in inhuman conditions, for example. So the conclusion in this case, in this situation, is that we need to open our borders to refugees. So people, now I'm going to talk to you about the assignment that you have to develop. Then I'm going to explain that, okay? So students, for this practice or assignment, I want you to work in pairs, okay? One student is going to present or is going to frame a problem, a situation using a dilemma, okay? Any problem, any situation in our society. But you have to use a moral dilemma. Then another student, the other student of the pair work, is going to reframe that situation using a dilemma that transcends, okay? That transcends the dilemma of the first student. I want you to do it in pairs. It doesn't matter if you take only one or 2 or 3 minutes or four, I don't know. But I want you to express yourself. I want you to be natural. I want you to be you. I don't want you to stand there reading a paper, okay? I really want you to understand these techniques and use them in order to know how to express your ideas and also your emotions, okay, when you are faced any situation in your life with any person, any conversation that you may have. Okay, so this is a good technique how you understand dilemmas and how you can talk about them, okay, and how to present your point of view. So you are going to work in pairs, remember. um, One of you is going to present a problem using a dilemma, and the other one is going to reframe that same problem but using a dilemma that transcends the first one. If you have any question, please let me know. I'm going to explain to you that topic or that practice, okay? So students, if you want to stop the video here and start working on your activity, on your practice, you can do it. Or if you want to continue watching the video and after that you do the assignment or the activity, you can do it too, okay? But now I'm going to talk to you about uh, the creation of a monopoly of emotion. As I told you, I want you to express yourself. I want you to be yourself on that video that you are going to record. Be natural, be you. So the final framing and reframing pattern is again about the use of emotions, as you could notice. You are going to watch the following video with a theme played by actors and take notes if it is possible, okay? So now let's watch it.
In recent years, Europe has been going through an economic and financial crisis in which the markets have threatened to lose faith in the euro. One of the reasons for the crisis was Greece's massive deficit. Under the leadership of Germany, the Greek government has been forced to make substantial budget cuts. Our actors will now play a scene in which the German finance minister encounters a restaurant owner from Crete on a Greek television show. The restaurant owner asks the minister to explain why Greece is being forced to accept an austerity package that includes significant budget cuts.
There are three
reasons for these measures, and the first one is obvious. Greece is spending much more money than it's taking in, leading to deficits and high interest rates. And the government therefore needs to make cuts. The second reason is Greece's poor tax culture, which results in low tax revenues. The government therefore needs to improve tax collections. And the third reason is Greece's bloated public sector, which consumes enormous resources. And the government therefore needs to start privatizing. And we believe that these three measures will help strengthen the Greek economy.
But the situation is terrible. I used to have 4 restaurants, and now I only have 1. And my daughter, she used to go to university, but now I cannot afford for her to go. And can you imagine how it is for us that she has to sacrifice her future because we have no money?
I understand that things are hard, but the Greek economy will only recover if the government implements a balanced budget, improves tax collections, and sells off public assets.
For who do you feel more sympathy in this scenario, the finance minister or the restaurant owner? Our guess is the restaurant owner. This is because we are witnessing a clash between two worlds, the world of the minister and the world of the restaurant owner, between policy and real people, between analysis and emotion, between what is abstract and what is tangible, between what is cold and what is warm. In this scenario, the tangible, human, warm, emotional world easily beats the minister's abstract, technical, cold, analytical world. The restaurant owner's message is embedded in a powerful emotional frame. In fact, the restaurant owner has a monopoly on emotion in this particular scenario. He is warm and emotional, while the minister is cold and analytical. This clash between an abstract policy frame and a tangible emotional frame is a very common phenomenon. How do you reframe an emotional frame? How can you break the restaurant owner's monopoly on emotion? Reframing an emotional frame always involves 2 steps. The first is to show empathy by indicating that your opponent's frame has touched you.
Going to university, she has to sacrifice her future because we have no money.
Your story is very moving. I also have children, and we all want the best for them. If a child is studying and doing well, it makes us proud. And we want them to complete their studies. And there's nothing I can do about your personal situation, but I am deeply saddened by what you've told me.
This is empathy. Such empathy must obviously be genuine, but the fact is that anyone who expresses their feelings is bound to feel sorry for the restaurant owner.
Empathy alone is not enough. If you only show empathy, your opponents may rightly ask why they are not getting their way. The second step in reframing an emotional frame is as follows.
I would also like to say something else. What matters to me is getting Europe out of these crises. I'm not imposing budget cuts for fun. I want young people to have better opportunities in the future, including your daughter. I want the elderly to be able to look forward to a decent old age. I want people of working age to have access to personal growth opportunities and new jobs. These are the things I am fighting for.
In this example, the minister explains why she is taking the measures. She reveals her underlying motives, which all have an emotional component. By revealing her own emotions, she is able to break her opponent's monopoly on emotion. In conclusion, it is possible to reframe an emotional frame by showing empathy and revealing your own motives, values, and passion. By following these 2 simple steps, you too can break your opponent's monopoly on emotion. And who wins when no one has the monopoly on emotion? Well, that will depend on your political opinion and no longer depends on who has the smartest framing.
So students, what could you notice in on this video? It is very clear, it's very clear that it is not only about presenting a lot of information. It is not only about presenting your opinions or ideas and so forth. It also has to do with your emotions, okay? If you break the monopoly of emotion of your opponent, then you can win the debate or you can win anything that any conversation that you may have, okay, or when you have to present your ideas like in a debate or forum and so forth. So in conclusion, a message in the emotional frame often outperforms a cold and analytical message and can result also in a monopoly of emotion. Reframing the monopoly of emotion, well, it is required that you show empathy and caution and your own values and emotions, okay? So now I want you to go to the discussion on Schoology and try to answer the questions that I have posted there. And you have to answer if you recognize that what is the concept that we have stressed in this video. And you can use the discussion also to exchange experiences with your peers or classmates. And please first see if others have an opinion similar to yours, and if so, please don't repost but reply to their thread and explain why you agree with your classmate. And this will help you, of course, to learn from other participants. So I strongly encourage you not only to post your ideas or your opinions, but I encourage you to share with others and also help answer each other's questions. I'm also going to pose an example there of a pitch that you can reflect on the discussion forum, and this paragraph is about the Prime Minister Winston Churchill and one of his speeches to the House of Commons on June 4th, 1940. So people go to the discussion and participate in that. Remember that I'm also evaluating your participation in the class. After that, after you do that, when you are ready, you are going to watch the second video that I have prepared for you in this class, in which we are going to talk about rhetoric, which is a nice topic that will help you to develop different techniques to talk in public, okay? But before that, we are going to see this example when Obama talked on his Iran policy in 2017, April 2017. And I want you to analyze this topic and try to explain why Obama thinks that way, okay? First, I'm going to explain what was the problem, and then you are going to share on the discussion that I have prepared for you on Schoology. Well, on April 2nd, 2017, the members of the United Nations Security Council, China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the USA, and Germany agreed on a concept deal with Iran about its nuclear program. Okay, Iran has tentatively agreed to accept significant restrictions on its nuclear program and to submit to an increased intensity of international inspections. This reduces Iran's capabilities to build nuclear weapons, which is something that some Western countries were concerned about. In exchange, Iran will be relieved from economic sanctions that were imposed on them. In the USA, many people are opposed to this deal. They say that Iran cannot be trusted. Therefore, they say a deal with Iran is bad and dangerous. Also, there are strong proponents of this deal. They say that this deal will contribute to building up mutual trust between Iran and the Western countries. Not an easy situation for the President of the United States, Barack Obama. Okay, so in this video, you are going to explain why he thinks this deal is a good deal. What framing pattern do you recognize in his explanation? So, students, you are going to answer that question on the other discussion forum prepared for you on Schoology. So, but first, you are going to watch the video about Obama on his Iran policy. Okay, let's watch it.
And what we know is that if we're able to get a deal, not only do we cut off all the various pathways for Iran getting a nuclear weapon, but we also know that we'll have a verification mechanism and an inspection mechanism where if they cheat and if they engage in a covert program, we are far more likely to see it in time to do something about it. What I also know is if we don't have a deal, as Prime Minister Netanyahu suggested, if in fact he's right that they're not trustworthy, they intend to pursue a covert program and they cheat, we'll be far less aware of it until it is potentially too late. What I also know is that he made the same argument before this current interim deal, and even as officials in his own government had to acknowledge that Iran has in fact maintained their end of the bargain. So what I'm focused on right now is solving this problem. I'm not focused on the politics of it. I'm not focused on the theater of it. My strong suggestion would be that members of Congress, as they evaluate it, stay similarly focused. All right? Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, students, it's time for you to participate on the second forum prepared for this issue. Once you do the practice, once you answer the first discussion forum and the second discussion forum, then you are ready to continue with the second part of today's class. So continue working. Once you do what is required, then you can continue with the second video of this class. So see you on the next video. If you have any question, please let me know that I'm going to be answering you as soon as possible, okay?